how it affected your life, and talk to us about forgiveness.
Okay.
And thanks for being here, man. I know I
thanks.
asked you a heavy one.
Yeah, thanks for asking me. As Ryan mentioned, our youngest daughter, Brittany, she was murdered November 30th, 2012. Say after that first night, my first probably month of life was living in shock. You know, I was just going through the motions of life, and you know, as you know, we got back and we started integrating back into going to work and interacting in real life. You know, emotions started to take over. You know, hate, anger. You know, Dustin killed our daughter, and then he ended up killing himself in prison. I was angry when he did that. I felt like I got robbed because I wanted him to suffer for a long, long time. So I didn't know how to deal with these emotions. So the easy thing to do was to drink. You know, I assumed that drinking would ease my pain. It would ease the emotions. It would make them go away, the hate and the anger, but it didn't. You know, it just fueled it. You know, so I became more and more angry, and we moved back to Colorado in April of 2014. We moved back here, and I thought, well, we're away from there now. You know. And I thought things would be better. We're back here with our family and friends, and it wasn't, because my drinking was so bad at that point, nobody wanted to be around me, you know. I pushed so many people away from me, even my wife, you know. The person who needed me the most, I pushed her away. And my drinking just got really bad. And then one night we had a friend over, and it was Brittany's old boyfriend, and he came over, and me and him sat around and we drank a lot, you know. And the next day, Diana asked me, she said, you know, do you know how much you drank and how you made me feel last night? At that point, you know, I was hungover, of course, and I said, I'm gonna quit drinking. And she said, no, you're not. You always say that, you know. And honestly, that was the last day I touched alcohol. You know, I talked to Ryan, I think probably about a week later, and because I know Ryan had, you know, gone through this 12-step process, and I told him I really had a problem, and I needed to get it under control. And this was July 30th of 2016, so it was probably, that group was in February of 2016. Even though I had asked God to help me forgive Dustin for what he did, I hadn't yet. I hadn't dealt with it, you know. I just continued to drink, and that was my solution for the problem. But it wasn't. I was pushing my kids away, my wife. So I went to my first AA meeting, you know, and I started working the 12 steps with Ryan, who was my sponsor, and it just didn't feel right. It just felt like I was going through some emotion that I was just supposed to be going through, because this is what you do when you're an alcoholic. And I talked to Ryan about it, and I said, you know, I just don't feel like this is working. And we talked about Dustin, you know, and that's where Ryan said, you know, to really move forward, you have you have to have forgiveness. And I thought to myself, I really can't forgive this guy. How am I going to forgive him? You know? And so we talked about it for a while, you know, and I finally got to a point where I was ready to forgive him, honestly forgive him. But it wasn't, like Ryan said, it wasn't to condone what he did. It wasn't to say, it's okay, Dustin, you took my daughter's life and I don't care. That's not what it was for. It was to set me free. And that's what I needed, you know, and I don't think I'm still there 100% of the way, but I'm trying. You know, when Ryan asked me to do this, I just told Ryan this yesterday when Ryan and I talked. I said, after Ryan asked me to do this, I thought to myself, me and Diana have never talked about this. I have never once said to her, you know, have you forgiven Dustin? Or I've forgiven him. Because I didn't want her to think that I let her or let him off the hook, and I thought it was okay what he did, you know. And I was afraid to have that conversation. And then Ryan asked me to talk, and I'm like, well, I'm going to be sitting up here and at free. I probably have the conversation before that night, so just so I know what her reaction's going to be. And I asked her about it, and she said, you know what? I've forgiven him a long time ago. And she said I had to. She said that was the only way I was going to go on in life, was to forgive him, you know. And she said exactly how Ryan put it. It wasn't to forgive him and say, it's okay what you did. It was to get happiness and joy back in our lives. You know, we still have 2 wonderful kids, and they're both here tonight. And we now have a granddaughter that we didn't want to both watch Paisley grow up and just see us as miserable, angry individuals, you know. So I don't think either one of us is there 100%, you know. There's still days I have hatred towards Dustin quite a bit, you know, but I work on it. When I feel that coming on, I just pray to God, you know, because I know I can't let that come back into my life. I can't let it consume me anymore. I can't let Dustin control me. So it was a burden, though, when I finally, you know, the burden lifted off my shoulders when I finally got to the point where I said, you know, I'm going to forgive him, you know. And I still pray every day that, you know, God will still give me the strength to forgive him and not let that anger and everything take over my life. So,
Thank you, David.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lord.
You know, if you're in this room and you do battle addiction, you are an addict, an alcoholic, you know that holding on to this stuff, holding on to that pain and anger, picking up the jawbone, not only does it mess with your emotional sobriety, but you're in grave danger of picking up again and using again. And so we'll do some group sharing, but I just thought let's take a minute now, and so I'm changing up the order a little bit, Tam. Thank you so much, David, for being here and sharing that with us. I know it's the heavy stuff, and I knew that when I asked you, so I am grateful. But what does it look like to replace all that with a hallelujah, even when it's kind of this broken hallelujah? So just want to invite you to hear this song, and